Nobody wants President Newsom either. Nobody believes in that guy. That guy's a con man. Everything he did in California, from trying to mandate vaccines for kids, being caught public without a mask and lying about the fact that he was outdoors.
Yeah.
Nobody believes in that guy. He's just a politician.
The fear, the horror, the hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy.
Gavin Newsom may have a bigger problem on his hands than he expected. One of his longtime media allies, Bill Maher, ended up shining a spotlight on issues that are now raising serious questions about Newsom's image. Maher wasn't setting out to criticize him, but his comments left a lot of viewers looking at Newsom in a very different way. Now the conversation is getting even louder. More high-profile voices are weighing in, and Joe Rogan has been one of the most outspoken. On his podcast, Rogan took aim at Newsom's record, arguing that California's biggest problems have only gotten worse under his leadership. The debate is heating up fast, and the reactions keep pouring in from all sides. We've got the biggest moments and key highlights coming up. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications because this story is only getting more intense.
I was on KBLA yesterday, with my friend Tavis Smiley. I'm an investor and a supporter of that station. And he said, who do you want to run the president? I mentioned, I think you'd be good at the job. Not this year, we know. No, I know. But he said, I don't think he could win. I don't think he could win. He's too progressive. Coming from this state and what he's done in this state to win in any southern state, any red state. I disagreed, but this is a progressive African-American owned station, and I'm sure they like you, but doesn't think you can win. What do you say to that if you could win look at the swing states, there's only 8.
This viral clip has been making the rounds everywhere, and many people say it's what sparked Gavin Newsom's latest wave of criticism. For years, he's worked hard to maintain a polished public image, but this moment put that image under a much brighter spotlight. Some commentators, including Bill Maher, have suggested that Newsom could one day have a shot at the White House. But plenty of Americans aren't convinced. Critics argue that some of his policies have been out of touch with everyday voters and have fueled growing concerns about his leadership. Among the issues often mentioned are California laws and education policies that have sparked heated debates across the country. Supporters call them forward-thinking, while opponents see them as examples of government overreach. The discussion gained even more attention after Maher's comments got people talking, and he wasn't the only one weighing in. Joe Rogan also joined the conversation, criticizing Newsom's record in California and questioning whether his political ambitions could succeed on a national stage.
Nobody wants President Newsom either. Nobody believes in that guy. That guy's a con man. Everything he did in California, from trying to mandate vaccines for kids, to being caught public without a mask and lying about the fact that he was outdoors. Nobody believes in that guy. He's just a politician, just a stone cold, narrative driven politician. Nobody thinks he's a real human. Whether you like Trump or not, whether you think he's corrupt or not, that's a human being. You know what that guy is. Same thing with RFK Jr. Whether you believe that he's correct about vaccines or whether you believe his policies would be effective, and that's a human being. With Newsom, you've got like this construct, this cardboard cutout of a person. I don't think people want that, but they might want it more than they want President Trump.
As Rogan's clip took off online, the pressure on Gavin Newsom seemed to grow fast. Critics said the confident image he usually projected started to crack, with more defensive answers and uncomfortable public appearances drawing attention. Bill Maher had already fueled questions about Newsom's leadership, but Rogan's criticism pushed the debate to a much bigger audience. When influential voices from different corners of the media start raising similar concerns, it becomes harder to ignore. Newsom quickly moved to defend his record and regain control of the narrative. He began addressing issues that had become major talking points, including the unrest in Los Angeles. But many critics saw the timing as reactive rather than proactive, arguing it looked more like damage control than strong leadership.
Here's your decency, Mr. President. Stop. Rescind this order. It's illegal and unconstitutional. And I said it. I'll say it again. It's immoral. You're creating the conditions that you claim you're solving, and you're not. And you're putting real people's lives at risk. This is a serious moment, and it requires serious leadership. And it's time for you to be a commander-in-chief of the United States of America. And I will have your back if you want to work in a relationship of trust and truth in the spirit of our founding fathers. But you come after poor kids, you come after families, we will do everything in our power to stand up and stand in your way.
Instead of trying to calm the situation after the protests turned chaotic, Gavin Newsom went on the offensive. Rather than easing tensions, he focused on criticizing Donald Trump and turning the spotlight toward a political fight. Newsom condemned the ICE arrests, calling them harmful to families and communities. His critics disagreed, arguing that the operations were targeted at people accused of criminal offenses, not ordinary families. According to opponents, the focus was more on creating headlines than solving problems. And when the criticism continued, Newsom pushed back even harder, even challenging former ICE official Tom Homan and drawing even more attention to the controversy.
Hands off these poor people are just trying to live their lives, man. Trying to live their lives, paying their taxes, been here 10 years. The fear, the horror, the hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me, let's just get it over with. Tough guy. You know, I don't give a damn. But I care about my community, I care about this community. The hell are they doing? These guys need to grow up, they need to stop, and we need to push back. And I'm sorry to be so clear, but that kind of bloviating is exhausting. So Tom, arrest me. Let's go.
Critics say this is where Newsom started looking increasingly desperate. As the pressure mounted, he leaned into emotional messaging and tried to present himself as someone standing up against a powerful system. To his opponents, it felt more like political theater than real leadership. They argue that his public challenge was designed to grab attention and create headlines rather than address the issues at hand, but the moment didn't go unchallenged. Former ICE official Tom Homan quickly responded, dismissing the move as a publicity stunt and pushing back against Newsom's claims, keeping the controversy in the spotlight.
The reporter asked me, well, could Governor Newsom or Mayor Bass be arrested? I said, well, no one's above the law. If they cross the line and commit a crime, absolutely they can. So there was no discussion about arresting Newsom. And so, you know, what he's done, he's failed that state. He waited 2 days of that city burning and people getting hurt, officers being assaulted, before he made any declaration of an unlawful assembly. He's late to the game. President Trump isn't late to the game.
Tom Homan didn't mince words. He pushed back hard against Gavin Newsom's comments, arguing that the governor's public challenge was more about grabbing attention than taking meaningful action. Homan's response quickly gained traction because he focused on what many critics had already been saying. According to them, during periods of unrest and disruption, Newsom failed to show the kind of leadership they expected from a governor facing major challenges. The debate intensified when federal authorities became involved. Newsom criticized the decision to deploy the National Guard, arguing that the move was made without his approval. His opponents saw things differently, claiming that action was taken because state leadership wasn't responding effectively enough. Homan's remarks added even more fuel to the controversy, turning the exchange into a larger argument over leadership, responsibility, and how California's biggest problems were being handled.
Keep hearing this term ICE raids, ICE raids. What happened how this riot started is that ICE was serving a series of criminal warrants at a business being investigated for money laundering, customs fraud, and serious violations on sending money to criminal cartels that in Colombia and Mexico that fund criminal cartel activities in the United States. It's a part of an overall conspiracy that ICE is investigating. So we're arresting bad people. We were enforcing laws and following up on a serious criminal investigation on cartel financing. So that's exactly what ICE did. And ICE took a lot of bad people off the street that day. We arrested predator, arrested gang members, arrested somebody that had an armed robbery conviction.
Let's set the record straight. Supporters of the ICE operation argued that it was focused on disrupting criminal networks tied to money laundering and organized crime, not targeting ordinary families going about their daily lives. Critics of Gavin Newsom say he helped push a very different narrative. They argue that he portrayed ICE agents as the bad guys, while presenting himself as the voice of compassion and concern. According to his opponents, that framing only deepened divisions and distracted from the real issues at hand. Rather than backing law enforcement efforts, they believe Newsom chose a political message that played better in the headlines. And when Tom Homan pushed back with his own version of the facts, the debate intensified even further. By that point, critics say Newsom was fighting to regain control of a narrative that was quickly slipping out of his hands.
He's dictating what universities themselves can teach. He's targeting law firms and the judicial branch that are the foundations of an orderly and civil society. He's calling for a sitting governor to be arrested for no other reason than to, in his own words, for getting elected. And we all know this Saturday, he's ordering our American heroes, the United States military, and forcing them to put on a vulgar display to celebrate his birthday, just as other failed dictators have done in the past. Look, this isn't just about protests here in Los Angeles. When Donald Trump sought blanket authority to commandeer the National Guard, he made that order apply to every state in this nation. This is about all of us.
Even then, Newsom seemed eager to stay in the spotlight. Critics say he stepped in front of the cameras and delivered a highly emotional message that felt more like a political performance than a display of leadership. He also called on other governors to push back against Trump, turning a debate about public safety and law enforcement into a broader political battle. Opponents argued that the focus shifted away from solving problems and towards scoring political points. For Newsom's critics, the moment highlighted a larger concern. They believe too much attention was placed on messaging and public perception, while not enough was focused on practical solutions. In their view, it looked more like a carefully crafted performance than the decisive leadership people were looking for.
I know many of you are feeling deep anxiety, stress, and fear, but I want you to know that you are the antidote to that fear and that anxiety. What Donald Trump wants most is your fealty, your silence to be complicit in this moment. Do not give in to him.
In the end, critics argue that Newsom's strategy backfired. What started as an effort to shape the narrative turned into a growing debate over his leadership and political style. Comments from Bill Maher sparked new questions, Joe Rogan amplified the criticism, and Tom Homan pushed back forcefully against Newsom's claims. Together, those voices helped keep the spotlight on issues that Newsom's opponents believed deserve more scrutiny. Critics say the controversy revealed a leader focused too heavily on messaging and not enough on results. They argue that emotional appeals and political theater can't replace effective leadership when voters are looking for real solutions. Whether people agree or disagree, the conversation around Newsom has clearly intensified. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more updates.